Hey, good morning, folks. Happy 4th of July weekend. All July, we continue to be sponsored for the folks at Thrivent. We want to thank Skip Nelson and Brad Markwell. The folks at Thrivent are reimaging financial service for individuals as well as communities in order to thrive. As I talk about it in my book, a career transition can be most difficult and challenging. It's a really great opportunity for you to get your finances in order. And it helped me weather the storm of a couple of career transitions in a short period of time. So if you guys are really interested, because you know what, who says nothing's free anymore? The folks at Thrivent and Skip, you just take your phone and hit that little scan code down at the bottom. You can actually get 1 hour free consultation. And I highly suggest it. We're definitely at the past the midpoint of the year. So why an opportunity to take a look at your finances, where you're at, find out how long your roadway is. So also want to tell people this is a Saturday morning with Phil and George. However, Phil is not with us, but we have Wes Roper, my good friend, to help us. Welcome him and thank him for stepping in and sharing coffee with us this Saturday morning.
Hi, everybody. It's nice to see everybody virtually, I guess.
Hey, so it looks like Wes, you're not in the cities today. Where you at?
I'm about 20 miles out of Fergus Falls at my family's lake place. So took off.
All right. Well,
spent
nice.
some time with the family.
So I want to welcome the viewers again. The show is 22 minutes to help you become the best version of yourself. Whether you find yourself out of shape, struggling a dead-end job, or in job transition. This morning, Wes Roper, myself, are going to help you find the better version of yourself. And our topic today is really working for yourself. How do you make that plunge? How do you make that jump? Wes has made that jump from corporate America to that non-traditional job and working for himself. So, Wes, why don't you tell us a little bit more about what your journey was all about?
Sure. I was in corporate America. I was a high-level IT and technology guy. I worked in the semiconductor space, and I would say for a good chunk of my life, I loved it. But it kind of got old. I kind of burnt out, if you will. But I didn't quite know how to move on. And eventually I decided to start a consulting company that helps people look at franchising. And if I were, what made me do it is I figured I had enough money in the bank to pay for life while I got the thing going. I had a desire to learn something new. And I had a willingness to acknowledge that I might move to something and not be immediately as good at it as I was in corporate America at that moment. And as soon as I got comfortable with those three attributes, it really became kind of easy doing it. It was harder to pick what to do.
I think we've all kind of experienced, or at least at one point, wanted to work for ourselves. But the first thing is really, especially if you're in career transition, I need to bring some income in. So, how do you start? What are the pitfalls that you basically at least experience, what you learned, what should I know and prepare for? And, do I jump out of a perfectly good helicopter and figure it out on the way down?
Well, the franchising guy in me says there's a businesses that you stay in corporate America and you launch and then you jump to once it's established. That's not what I did. I think it's all about planning, and it's all about doing your research and putting in the work before you start. It's just like job transition. You've said in your journeys, job transition is work. You can't delegate that. Well, you're right. The same goes to exploring starting a business. You go talk to people who have done it and succeeded, done it, and decided to go back to corporate America or have even failed at it. And once you've done your research, you plan. Just like job transition, you plan your week out. You try and say, in your case, more than me, but I try and do 2 networking meetings a day, maybe 3, and I plan it. I set up my time in my calendar and I say, can I get these done? Can I get them scheduled? And so research, planning, and then I like to say, when I was in corporate America, I did lots of what's the best case, what's the worst case, and what's the 60% schedule. You plan the same thing financially. You talk to Wes's and you talk to others like me out there and say, well, how long did it take you to make some money? And was that what you planned on? And then, if my wife were sitting with me, that's the other big part of it is you make sure your loved ones are on board when you decide to do it. I tell my
For
clients,
me, one
yes
of the
and a no
biggest
is a no,
challenges,
a yes.
yeah. So, one of the big things when you're not in traditional sales is, how do you get and land your first client, and how do you maintain and sustain that one in order to turn around and add, your second and third client? Let's say, you're a fractional CFO and you're going out and trying to hang your own shingle, or you're an ops leader, right, looking to turn around and find a way to do some consulting. What are your suggestions on that?
I'll be the first to admit, one of my big mistakes was an overzealous sales forecast for myself. I'm not a sales guy. I'm actually a pretty introverted guy. I would say networking was the critical piece that helped me get my business going. It's how I made my first sale. And to this date, 86% of my sales have come from a networking connection. So just like job transition, you're trying to meet people that you think you can help and you think might be able to help you. You try and build a rapport with them. And a lot of times it's focused around you not being selfish with your wants and trying to share what your network's able to help others. And I would say it feels pretty good, right? When somebody calls you and says, Wes, I have somebody I want you to meet. I think this could be a good client for you. You're pretty humbled by it. And that comes by building that network and then keeping it alive, keeping in contact, building your A list and keeping them on a regular call. Um, all the things you talk about in your book, truthfully.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I was in a career transition a couple of months ago, and listening to the folks who had been in post-pandemic career transition, the challenges. I mean, people have been out for more than a year. And I just, I was more worried about finding a job in a short period of time than actually just finding a job. But I just went back to the book and I said, hey, I changed it up and added a little bit more on top of the book. And I said, hey, I'm going to take a 55 approach, right? I'm going to look at all the connections I have, the ones that are most influential that potentially could be an influence of my opportunity. And this is the same thing for working for yourself, right? Looking for those top 50 in your connections, and then going in and identifying five of those people that they're connected to that you're not commonly connected. So, for me, it's CEOs, CFOs, board members, right? Like you said, you might be looking as a CFO, you're going to look at, small businesses and who in my connections can actually give me that further connection and land those opportunities, whether it's in career transition or working for yourself, right? In 35 days, I networked with 112 people. I didn't even get to 250, right? You do the 5 times 50. And I had, 3 offers, and I was really overwhelmed. So,
Yeah.
to your point, it's really your A list, find those people, and then, cultivate that, reestablish your connection if you haven't talked to them in a couple of years.
Yeah. Yeah. The one thing I would add to what you said is 100% correct. The one thing I would add when you're in business and looking for additional business is past clients are key. So if you can use that network to help a client after you're done with the engagement, after you've made your money, that ends up being a wonderful way for you to cultivate business or get repeat business if you're a consultant. But otherwise, I 100% agree with what you said. Build your network. Don't build it and then leave. Build it and cultivate it. Keep coming back. Keep checking in, but lead with a give. And then, once you build some successes, leverage them.
You made a comment earlier about you know, a lot of work. So what I would say is, you help people, find opportunities in franchising and everything else. How do you go through that process? It's finding out, what's my path.
Um, if this were a first call and somebody says, I think I want a business, but I don't know where to start, I always start by saying, look, you can buy a business, you can invent something, you can start a consulting company, and you can look at a franchise. They all got pros and cons. And, I have a presentation deck that shows you the high level pros and cons of each of them. But I always say, before you dive into those, take a step back. And it comes back to the things we already talked about. Hopefully you're succinct in why you want to start a business. You're not just running from a job, because our job groups can help you get a job. I believe it in all my heart. But if you want to run a business, continue to the next step. If your
You
family
know,
wants you to run a business, continue to the
or you
next
can
step.
write a book and then become an expert on that topic.
Yeah, it research, plan, make sure the finances work out with your family life, and then from there it's a selection criteria. Franchises offer you probably a quicker start, a brand, an ops manual. The cons are it comes with some hooks. They want you to do things their way. Um, Buying a business, the cash flow is probably the biggest positive. The biggest negative is you're buying something from somebody that wants to get out. So getting at the real truth of how healthy things are is hard. Inventing something, it's hard to get financing for. In consulting, which I do a fair amount of consulting now, that having that network already built is key to that. If you're going to launch a consulting business, you should plan time to build that network before you should expect just bang up consulting opportunities to come knocking at your door.
What about, let's say this past year has really forced us, a lot of us, to kind of evaluate what's happened and transpired the last year. So I might not be in the ideal career, for me going forward. What would you suggest for a person that, is kind of thinking that they're in maybe not their ideal situation given the last year? It's given us an opportunity to really self-reflect. How do they, set up, a transition? So maybe a launch pad. So it's not like I got to quit my job in order to really make this leap.
Well, writing a book, which well, right? That comes with hard work too. Hard work,
Yeah.
research. You can write any hour of the day. That's the most obvious one. There's new websites out there every day where people can put portfolios together as fractional leaders, provided your work contract with your employer allows you to do it. Those are ways for you to get your name out there, describe what you do. Things like this meeting, or heck, a job transition meeting. You can go to the meeting and say, I'm thinking about starting a business. This is what it looks like. I'd like to network with a few people and, round out my perception of what it would look like. And then, where I play in the franchising space, there's a lot of manager run stuff out there. Great Clips is a Minnesota company that everybody knows about. That owner doesn't need to be in that business every day. You explore, and in that case, you learn from a bunch of people who aren't your competitors elsewhere in the country, if that lifestyle is a fit and that journey is a fit. So it really depends on the type of business, the amount of time you have, and how hard you want to work at it. None of it's no work.
So here's another thing. I'm sure that you've experienced a lot of folks who kind of contemplated, hey, you know what? I may have been out 6 or 7 months already, and I don't have a lot to invest. How do you help those people say, hey, maybe still there's a franchise option for you so that you can actually start running your business and starting to pay you back a little bit of something, right? As opposed to nothing.
I always say this, and this is just the way I am, right? When we sit down, I say, hi, how do I help you? And if they say, well, this is what I want to talk about, this is what we talk about. So the easiest would be to say, Wes, I want to have a conversation with you. George, I want to have a conversation with you. And you tell people, because George isn't going to turn around and throw that book down your face and throw his story down your face, just like I'm not either. But people are around, right? I can connect you with as many business owners that you want. Um, Franchise wise, I built a profiler. That's how I actually got here, is help people figure out if franchising could be a fit. Um, it's been taken, I don't know, 10,000 times around the country. I have a pretty good idea who a profile is if I can see that assessment. Um, Consulting, John Arms's Voyager U is a great way for you to kick tires and learn if that fits you, if anybody's ever heard of it.
Yeah, one of the things that is always, some of the people that I've talked to, it's really just how do I start, right? And how quickly can I get into something that's actually going to start to pay me back that investment? Again, being out my first time 13 months, did I ever think in an unemployment rate of 4.3% that it would take that long? Again, I think to your point, career transition, finding an opportunity. It's all about networking, right? Networking with financial advisors, business lawyers, bankers, those types of things. They'll find a way. I mean, if you're a veteran like myself, happy 4th of July to all the veterans out there, is that there's options out there that you might not be aware of, and it's really networking and finding those connections that can clear a path for you.
Yep. I would say you talk to people who definitely have already been through the journey, and you give their opinions maybe a little more weight than those who are just offering side comments who haven't really done it. That would be one learning I've got is, I'm an expert where I'm an expert. I'm a novice where I'm a novice. The opinion should be taken with a priority. But you're right.
Well, one of the questions that the viewer has that actually emailed me, that's what I was looking down here for, is that I'm out 6 months, and I have very little. And I think we kind of touched on this, but specifically, what are the 2 or 3 things that I can do right now that I could launch myself in the next couple weeks? I think we started the show, know your financial situation, because again, you might be able to turn around and take some borrowing on your 401k to help you through that. And I'm not a tax person at all, but you got to be able to explore some of the things that are non-traditional. So how are you been able to, and I'm sure you've experienced people like this, what would you suggest for this individual?
I suggest people look, even when they say, how fast can I get going? I say plan on foregoing running your life from this business for a year. Because when you make money, you're going to want to reinvest in it. And that might not be what people want to hear, but I think it's the truth. You want to plan to build this thing. You don't plan to put it in and take it out right away. Um, that said, there's businesses in my world that, consulting, if you've got a network already built, can build pretty quick. If you don't, it's going to take a while. Franchises that do services to the home, they build much more quickly than businesses where you got to go build a big piece of real estate. Um, if you buy a business, that doesn't happen quickly. As soon as there's a bank involved, there's due diligence, and due diligence is tough to schedule. So if you wanted to say what's the quickest, it's offer your expertise in a gig format as a consultant, or look at like a home service style business. I work in the franchise space. You could start your own, or you could go that route. But there's a lot of consumers out there right now, and they're buying time. I could clean my gutters, but I'd rather have somebody to do it so I can go to the lake.
So you've been doing this quite a while. Are you seeing an uptick for folks that are basically, getting out of the traditional corporate America and making the leap? And I think we talked about it. That's the first question. The second part of the question is we talked about it, touched on it a little bit, but what are the pitfalls that you wished you had known going into taking a leap that you found out through the process?
I'm going to answer the questions backwards because I'm better at answering the negative. The pitfalls are what I wish I would have known. There's an adage out there that says when you're networking for a job, you're in sales, whether you like it or not. The same thing goes to being in business. And it took me a while to hit my stride with that. I'm an introverted guy. I build my business through networking. And the networking is different than sales because you get to lead with a give, instead of trying to lead with pros and cons and problem solving. So that would be my first big one is I wish I would have been better prepared to introduce myself succinctly and handle quick little conversations. The second thing I figured out is operate from a position of power. God gave everybody skills, and you wanna turn around and operate off of strengths and then build and replenish your weaknesses with support from others. They would be the big ones. Don't be afraid to hire help if you need it.
Oh, that's good advice. Well, Wes, these times go by fast. I want to first thank you for pitch hitting for us with Phil being out of pocket, as well as want to thank the veterans out there for 4th of July, past, present, and future. Being a veteran myself, there's just a pride when I go out this afternoon and watch the 4th of July parade. So want to thank all the veterans out there that are listening. Also want to be able to share with you guys, let me see here, I'm doing triple duty here, but our next show. So we're talking about connecting with others. You pointed out, Wes, the importance of whether you're in career transition, looking for a job, or looking to launch your own business, hang your own shingle, or franchise. This is an opportunity to find out how do you connect with the right folks. Who versus who knows you is critical in any of those particular topics. Bridging the gap between you and employment, whether that's, again, working for yourself and paying for yourself, you could probably have a much higher salary a year from now working for yourself than, maybe taking your next role. And then all opportunities for helping others. That's one of the keys that I learned in my first career transition, that we actually had an earlier guest on in our episodes, which, by the way, it's our 14th episode. Greg Rye told me, he said, listen, you know what? I have found early in my career that the more you give, the more you get. And I started to apply that. And that's where I not only saw my network thrive, but opportunities present themselves, etc. So really a great show. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be on the 17th. And then finally, want to share with people that, if you like the show, please share and help those people in career transition contemplating a bad job and how to make the leap, or finding an opportunity in franchise. We got enough connections between you and I that we could probably just about help anybody out there, whether they take that path of finding their own company, hanging their own shingle, or finding their next opportunity. I do want to tell people that I am very humbled. The book last week had won the 2021 Midwest Awards for Best Business Book in the Midwest, and beat out a lot of heavy competition, and very humbled. So the book is available at Kirkhouse Publishing. You guys can get on there and go and hit that code. You can get a 15% discount. It's still also available on Barnes and Noble, Amazon, and Kindle as well. So again, Wes, I appreciate your time today in helping us get better. And I wish you and your family a good 4th of July weekend. And we'll see you on the flip side.
Thanks, everybody, and thanks for your service, George.